standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises I cannot fail. Listening every moment to the Spirit's call. Trusting in my Savior as my all in all. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God, my Savior. Standing, standing. I'm standing on the promises of God. Now flip your pages to 173. 173, Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Now, if you'd stand and sing 175 in the garden. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses. the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me in my heart is ringing, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around may be falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. Voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Brother Randy, if you could lead us in prayer.
Dear loving Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this blessed Sabbath day. We can come together, Lord, and have rest. Thank you, Lord, for rest in Jesus Christ. He took care of everything for us that we might live in Him. Thank you for bringing us together. Be with us this day and feed us, lead and guide us. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning. So today our announcements, August 13th, Bread of Life from 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Anyone is welcome to come and help us. We always need extra help. Are there any other announcements that need to be said? No? If not, then we have Just for Kids. Looks like Brother Israel has Just for Kids.
everybody. Oh, I can hear myself. How are you guys? Good. Are you guys ready to go back to school? No. Maybe, kind of. Well, today I'm gonna read you guys a verse that goes along with what I'm gonna talk. So, it says, or if someone would like to read it, someone would like to read it. You want to read it? Okay.
Dictionary. 31st one ESL. V. 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you.
Amen. Well, I know that when you guys go to school, sometimes it's scary because either you're going to another class or you're having another teacher. Who's having another teacher this year? Anyone having another teacher? What is it? Oh, you're going to a new school. Okay. Are you having a new teacher or are you going to a new school? You new principal? New teacher? Okay. Who else has a new teacher? Or someone going to another school? Or maybe going to, I don't know, junior high, no? We don't have any junior high? No, not yet. Well, sometimes it's a little bit scary, but like this verse says, do not fear because the Lord is with you all the time. So either if you're going to either elementary school or you're going to junior high, maybe high school or even college for some that are going to college already, sometimes it's a little bit scary because, I mean, you just don't know what's going to come up, or if you're going to have new friends or new teachers or maybe another principal. So, I mean, sometimes it's a little bit scary, but like I said, this verse says, be strong and courageous, do not fear or be in dread or of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. So, so like you said, some of us are ready for school. Well, not me. I'm already. I don't go to school anymore, but some you guys should be ready because God will be always with you. So I would like to ask Pastor Donnie if he will come up over here and pray for the children. And I'm gonna give you guys, whoever it's on elementary school, you guys are gonna get one of these, and I would like for you guys to put this either in a notebook or a folder or something, and just so it would remind you that God will be always with you. And for the little bitty ones, I have some candy, so because it could be dangerous for the little bitty ones to have a pencil sharpened. So if you could stand up, and we're gonna ask Pastor Don to go in a prayer.
Everybody got somebody's hand? Come on. Everybody join hands. There we go. Don't want anybody to be left out. Almighty God, we come to the beginning of another school year. I pray that your blessings be upon each one of these children. Bless them, dear God, as you'll put your protecting shield about them. But also, dear God, I pray that their minds will be open and they'll be able to absorb the information that the school has to offer. Knowledge is important, And as they grow, they use the knowledge that they receive in school to make better citizens and better church members. And I just pray, dear God, that you'll bless each one of them as they endeavor in their classes, that they'll be able to make good grades, and a sign that they've got a good teacher if they're getting good grades. And I just pray, dear God, that you'll bless each of their teachers as they go to different classes, different schools. You'll bless them, protect them. And I ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. So whoever goes to elementary school, come and grab one.
Thank you very much. And I think so much candy too. I'll take the leftovers of the candy.
Like first grade. First grade and up.
Wait, what if we go to pre-K?
Well, first grade and
I go to pre-K.
up.
I need a candy. I go to pre-K. I go to pre-K.
Wait. Yeah, but you can get one to you're in 8th grade, that's all.
Can I get a candy from a little kid?
You're not a little.
I'm a little kid. You're a little kid. You go to preschool. Go to preschool?
Candy? Jason Joseph?
I don't know. I want some candy.
You want some candy? Jason Joseph. You want some candy también?
Now it's time for our tithes and offerings. If the ushers could come up front. Brother Custodio, could you pray? We now have a special by our brother Rocky. He's not. Oh. If not, then does anyone have a special? No? Okay, well, now we have worship and songs. If Sister Alma could come up front and lead worship.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? I'm blessed to be here this morning. It was kind of rainy, but it didn't stop me from coming here today. So let's stand up and worship. Our first song, Mighty is Our God.
Mighty is our God, mighty is our King, mighty is our Lord, ruler of everything. Glory to our God, glory to our King, glory to our Lord, ruler of everything. His name is higher, higher than any other name. His power is greater, for he has created everything. Mighty is our God, mighty to our King, mighty to our Lord, ruler of everything. Glory to our God, glory to our King, glory to our Lord, ruler of everything.
Amen. I'm trading my sorrows.
I'm praying.
I'm trading my shame. I'm laying it down for the joy of the Lord.
I'm trading
My sickness,
I'm trading
my pain.
I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Amen.
I'm crushed but not crushed,
Persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for his promise will endure, and his joy is gonna be my strength. Through the sorrow may last for a night, joy comes with the morning. I'm trading my sorrows, I'm trading my shame, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. trading my pain. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Amen.
I'm crushed but not crushed,
Persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, but now destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for His promise will endure, and His joy is gonna be my strength. Till the sorrow may last for a night, joy comes with the morning. I'm trading my sorrow, I'm trading my shame, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord.
Amen. Who is feeling mighty fine today? All right, then, let's sing it as we're feeling mighty fine today. I woke up
This morning feeling fine, I woke up with glory on my mind. I woke up with joy in my soul, 'cause I knew my Lord had control.
I knew I
Was walking in the light, 'cause I've been on my knees in the night, and I made till the Lord gave me sign, and now I'm feeling mighty fine. When I'm feeling mighty fine, I've got glory on my mind. Oh, don't you know I want to go where the milk and honey flows, and there's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I've got glory, glory on my mind, and now I'm feeling mighty fine. We're walking with Jesus all the time. We're walking and talking as we climb. We're traveling a road to the land where I know I'll meet Him in the end.
He's been telling me
All about the land, and He tells me that everything is grand,
and he said that
our home will be mine, and now I'm feeling mighty fine. When I'm feeling mighty fine, I've got glory on my mind. Oh, don't you know I want to go where the milk and honey flows, and there's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I've got glory, glory on my mind, and now I'm feeling mighty fine.
Amen. These are the days of Elijah. These are the days of
declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteous and being restored. And these are the days of your trials, of famine and darkness and sorrow. Still with the voice of the desert crying, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Lord, he comes, riding on the cloud, shining like the flood. At the trumpet call, lift your voices, the year of Jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation comes. These are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming as flesh. And these are the days of your servant David, rebuilding a temple of praise. And these are the days of the harvest, the fields are as white in the snow. We are the laborers in your vineyards, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, lift your voices, the year of Jubilee. Out of Zion hill, salvation comes. There's no God like Jehovah. 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 Oh, he comes, riding on the cloud, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, lift your voices, the year of Jubilee. Out of Zion hill, a cappella, salvation comes. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, lift your voices, the year of Jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation one more time comes. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, lift your voices, the year of Jubilee. Out of Zion hill, salvation comes.
Amen. You may take your seat.
Now it's time for the youth to come up front and deliver their message.
Good morning, everyone. So these past 3 months, our youth class has been studying about the Sabbath, the importance of the Sabbath, and the reasons why we come to church on the Sabbath. So the FYC today has prepared themselves with a little bit about what they've learned of the Sabbath these past 3 months. But before Yesenia comes up, I want to show you guys this sheet that Brother Gil gave to us, and This sheet is an acronym of the Sabbath, and our youth class came up with the word for each letter of the Sabbath according to what the Sabbath means to us. So I invite you guys can do it right now or whenever, maybe right now in your pamphlets, write down what the Sabbath means to you according to each each letter of the Sabbath. And let this be a reminder to you guys why we come to church on the Sabbath and what the Sabbath means to you guys. And so now is the time for Yesenia to come up and share what she has for us today.
Good morning. How are you guys today? So, as Lucille said, we've been studying about the Sabbath and of some of videos that we've been watching over the heroes of the Bible. So today I have prepared something about the Sabbath, and me being a teenager, I have friends, right? And so my friends want to hang out, and I've told them several times we can hang out as long as as we don't like go on Sabbath. And so I don't know why they do this, but they always choose to make plans on the Sabbath, and well, I've already told them, so I don't go. And so one of my friends asked me why even come to church on the Sabbath when I could be like spending time with them. And I responded with, well, it's what I believe, and since that is what I believe, I can't just say I believe it and not go to church. And so I have to show my beliefs. And to be honest, I would, like, no offense to them, but I would rather just be here than with them. I mean, they're fun and all, but I would rather have a deeper relationship with God and have to get to know Him better. And in Isaiah 58:13-14, it says, if you keep your feet from breaking the Sabbath and from doing as you please on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight and the Lord's holy day honorable, and if you honor it by not going your own way and not doing as you please or speaking idle words, then you will find your joy in the Lord. And I will cause you to ride in triumph on the heights of the land and feast on the inheritance of your father Jacob, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. So I feel like these two verses kind of hit my reasoning pretty good. Not only personally do I come here because I want to, but I mean, God set the Sabbath apart because He knew that we would get tired. And so it says that in Genesis 2, verse 2 and 3. And it says it from the very beginning, so. It says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work He had been doing. So on the seventh day, He rested from all His work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it He rested from all the work of creating that He had done. So, if we read it, like I just did, it explains that obviously not only, He obviously didn't have to rest, but He did it for our sake. And so the Old Testament doesn't just talk about the Sabbath, also the New Testament talks about it. In Acts 17:13, it talks about how it was Paul's custom to go into the synagogue, and he reasoned with scriptures on the Sabbath. So, whenever someone like tries to be like, oh, well, the Sabbath is only in the Old Testament, I could be like, it's in the New Testament too, because there's multiple verses and scriptures that say that we have the Sabbath on, yeah. And so that has been all, and thank you. Pasamos, hermanos y hermanas. Good morning, brothers and sisters. So this morning, I'll be talking to you about the Sabbath. Sabbath is a weekly day of rest observed from sundown on Friday until sundown Saturday. Some of my friends ask why I go to church on Saturday. So exactly why do I and millions like me choose Saturday over Sunday? Well, God welcomes worship every day of the week. He sets aside the seventh day of rest. This day is Sabbath and corresponds with Saturday. I'll be reading Exodus 28 through 10. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You are to labor 6 days and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. You must not do any work. You, your son or daughter, your male or female servants, your livestock, or the residents alone who is within your city gates. And then I will also like to read Leviticus 23:3. Work may be done for 6 days, but on the seventh day there is to be a Sabbath of complete rest. A scarred assembly, you are not to do any work. It is a Sabbath to the Lord wherever you live. At creation, God performed 3 deliberate differences from the other 6. He rested, blessed, and sanctified the Sabbath. We need to rest from labor and time reflect. This is why God drew us aside that very first Sabbath day of creation for special time. God packed a spiritual blessing into the seventh day that he did not put into the other 6. God drew a boundary around this 24-hour period and designated it as a day to be fully dedicated to pursuing a relationship with him. And then I will also be reading Mark 2:27 through 28. Then he told them, the Sabbath was made for men and not men for the Sabbath. So then the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. And I would like to conclude this with this verse. Thank you for listening.
Good morning. How are you feeling this holy day? Blessed. Well, our sisters have been talking today about the Sabbath and why we should keep it. And I would like also to talk about that and have a couple of different keys of why I keep the Sabbath as well. And I have a couple points of my understanding for the Sabbath. And the first is it's a commandment from God. We know that as our sister Diana read already in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, how God gives us a commandment of observing the Sabbath and keeping it apart from the rest of the week. And also another is it's a day, as I've learned, a day of fulfillment. A lot of people go to work 6 days a week, and others, as y'all know, we're starting school, and we go to school 5 days a week, and we do all our labors. But the seventh day we come, and so everyone's tired by the time Friday comes. Everyone's like, oh, it's Friday. And so we're joyful to come here not only for the physical rest, which is not going to work, not going to school, but we come for the spiritual rest as well, and that is why what I have learned and wrote down fulfillment. I would like for you guys to flip over to John chapter 5. And it says, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him laying there, he learned that he had been in this condition for a long time. He asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. And well, here in this short passage, we see that there was a pool, like a fountain, and an angel came. And when he came, the waters moved, and all those who were there ready to touch the water were healed. And I've learned to relate this with the Sabbath, and because this is like that fountain where all those who are sick, all those who have problems throughout the week, we come here the Sabbath and get healed, renewed for the week that is upcoming. And another reason why the Sabbath is observed is for worship. I always enjoy, I even sweat whenever we worship, because it's just a different feeling, to be able to praise our God and give Him thanks for all the good He's done. And I would like also for you to flip with me to the book of Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40, verse 31. And I chose this verse also because, as y'all know, every Friday evening or the beginning of Sabbath, we come and we give thanks and we ask for the prayers. And I always pay attention to what our sister Esther says. She tells us, well, she always asks God for strength for her, and she reminds us that with God, He renews us like the eagles. She likes saying this, and I don't know if you know, but eagles at a certain age, a certain time, they have to choose. They have an option either to die or to renew themselves. And so what an eagle has to do is break its beak, just smash it into the hard surface, and they go up to the highest peak of a tree or a mountain, and they stay there for a long period of time until it grows back. And so that is why our sister reminds us. And let's read Isaiah 40, verse 31. It says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." And this is why we come to Sabbath, to get renewed week after week. And another point for the Sabbath is fellowship. We all enjoy coming every Sabbath, seeing each other. Many of us don't see us throughout the week. We don't see each other. And also, I would like to tell you guys a little illustration that I read. It talks about this mouse who there was a farm, and this mouse lived in between, the house of the farmers. And one day, the mouse heard that the farmer was talking to his wife. He's like, and they went to the store, and when they came back, they were talking about having a mouse trap. And he was like, "Oh, no, what's going on? There's a mouse trap around here." And so he quickly got alarmed, and he went over to a chicken that was around. He's like, "Hey, they brought a mouse trap." He's like, "I'm not a mouse. Why should I worry about it?" And so he's like, "Oh," and then he went his way over to a cow. He's like, hey, they brought a mouse trap. And the cow was like, "Why should I worry about it? It's not like, look at the size of me. I'm not going to get, doesn't affect me." And made his way over to a sheep, to a lamb. And he's like, and the same thing happened. The lamb was like, "Why should I worry?" And there the mouse goes, so sad, back to his home, worried and with caution, going as he walked around. And the next day, what happened is the lady, the wife of the farmer, she was taken to the hospital because the mouse trap had caught a snake. And the farmer's wife got bitten by the snake, so the farmer had to take her to the hospital. And since then they took him to the hospital, they came back home. And what do you do when a member gets sick? You make them a soup. And so the farmer goes over, kills the chicken, cuts it, and they have and makes a chicken soup for the wife. And then people go over. We have visitors whenever we get sick. And so what did the farmer have to do? Had to cut the lamb to feed the people who were there. And as this makes us think, people, we have to worry about each other. Our fellowship is very important here at church. It is different from the outside world because here we can trust each other. That is also why the Saturday is kept. And I would like for y'all to flip over to Hebrews chapter 10. Verses 24 and 25. It says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." And we are the body of Christ, and we should always worry about what happens to one another. It's good to be in contact throughout the week with each other. And always look for the good of the church. Don't try to harm anyone, because we are the body of Christ. As my uncle Gonzalo once told us as well, as he works in construction, he's not gonna grab a hammer and a nail and hurt himself. You're not gonna want to hurt your finger, and that is the same with us. I don't want to hurt my sister. She is part of my body as well. And I would like to leave you with this, and may God bless you.
Good afternoon, y'all. Good to be in the house of the Lord. So these past few I wrote down weeks, but it's months that Marcia's been gone. We've been not only studying the Sabbath with Gil, we've also been watching this Lifeway series called The Faithful Heroes of the Bible with Malia. We talked about Gideon and Nehemiah, about how your crisis does not dictate your ability and coming together. But the hero I'm going to talk to you about today is actually the hero we talked about most recently, or watched a video about most recently, and that is Esther. In case you haven't had the chance to read the book or watch the VeggieTales episode, I've seen it so many times. I have the little green VHS. It's great. It's great. Esther's story begins with King A, and he's got a weird name, so we're just going to call him King A, dismissing his wife because she didn't come when called and campaigning for a new one. Or as you may remember from VeggieTales, he asked her to make him a sandwich in the middle of the night, and she said no, so he kicked her out. Anyways, Esther was included in the Virgin Beauty Roundup, and the king found great favor with her. He found such great favor that he named her his new queen. And everything was good until this guy named Haman was promoted, and Haman had really bad anger management issues. And when he saw that Esther's uncle Mordecai did not live by the king's rules, he swore to destroy all Jews. Yeah, anger issues. And in case you didn't catch this by now, Esther was a Jew, and not to mention an orphan. After some persuasion, Esther agreed to help the Jews. Using her influence over the king, she condemned Haman to his death and convinced the King A to revoke the letters against the Jews. And they all lived happily ever after. Despite the fact that the book is literally named after Esther, it talks surprisingly little about her, choosing instead to focus on merciful King A, evil Haman, and the greatness of Mordecai. As far as I'm concerned, King A was really shallow. Haman was, well, evil. They got that right about him. And Mordecai was kind of a sissy. The real hero of the story was the one who was so beautiful and gracious that she was handpicked out of hundreds of others. The one who overcame all fears and obstacles for her family. The one who knows, may have been chosen queen for such a time as this. Esther's story is not just one of courage, it is also one of destiny. A wise man once said, not to be afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. The great thing about Esther's story is that she was brave when the situation was dire. By appearing before the king uninvited, Esther risked her life and further risked it by accusing King A's best friend. The truth of the matter is, Esther had a choice, Esther faced the fear, and Esther took the courage that she was offered. The lesson says she moved from self-preservation to brave determination. She had to overcome herself in order to do what God had created her and positioned her to do. Not only was she brave and destined, she also had tremendous faith in God. And faith in God isn't just, I believe he will do what I ask him to. It's, I believe that he will do what he wants to do, and I'm not going to get mad if it's not what I asked. I'm going to fulfill my purpose either way. Everything happens for a reason. No matter what happens, I'm going to continue to witness. And witnessing isn't always talking about your faith. It's being good to people and spreading God's love. Anyways, before I get too off topic, back to Esther. What an amazing lady. And nobody would have guessed that she would have been the hero of the story. She was, as I mentioned before, Jewish and an orphan, just a regular kid. But you know what Pastor Don always said, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So the next time you think you aren't worthy to be used by God, remember that he uses all of us in different ways. And the next time you're in a situation where you're scared to do the right thing, remember that he's going to take care of you. And that's all I have for you guys today. Stay faithful.
Good morning, brothers and sisters, pasados, hermanos y hermanas. Unlike my other peers, mine really doesn't have to do anything with what we learned in our months. Mine's kind of just something that's stuck with me since Springville, I guess, in school. So what I'm going to talk about is the book of Ruth. As you know, the book of Ruth is found in the Old Testament. It talks about how Ruth was the daughter-in-law of Naomi and her husband, and Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons, and Naomi was a widow. She didn't have anyone else except for Ruth and her other daughter-in-law, Orpah, I think. And Orpah left Naomi, went back to her homeland, but Ruth stayed. Ruth was with Naomi. She left all she knew to be with Naomi. So from learning that book, because we did a book study of Book of Ruth through, and the Book of Ruth isn't that long. It's only like 4 or 5 chapters, but you had to read that book every day for a month. And you can get so bored of reading one same book because you know what's going to happen in the end. But with so much like observation that you have to do in a book to understand and to go back and find genealogy of how everything happened and where they were from, it was very eye-opening. So one of the first points I have is Ruth left all she knew for Naomi because she loved her so much. She gave up all she knew, just like Christ gave up having a life with his Father and came to earth for us, for our sins, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Naomi endured so much, but not once in the book do you ever find that she curses God for what happened to her. She never turns her back on him. She just goes with the flow. She goes with how it is. But if it was any of us, I'm pretty sure one of us would have been to God and asking him, why me? Why now? Why'd you leave me nobody? But she never did. We should strive to have that. Even when we're going through the worst times, we should always find comfort in God because he puts you through things that you can overcome. He doesn't put you through anything that you can't. And lastly, we will always have someone in our lives who we should be able to go to, like Ruth had Naomi. A mentor, someone you can lean on, someone who maybe might be older, might be younger, but just someone who gives you wise words when you don't know what to do. Someone who is there to comfort you and to exhort you when you are in the wrong or when you just need a guiding hand. To lift each other up, to set an example when we don't know, and to just be a leaning hand. That's all I have.
Good afternoon. As we were preparing for today, I kept thinking about hope. Hope is not exactly something we studied in class, but throughout the week, the idea of hope kept coming through my mind. I'm going to read some of my favorite verses that remind me that God is my hope. Psalms 39:7. So Lord, what hope do I have? You are my hope. Psalms 31:24. All you who put your hope in the Lord, be strong and brave. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That's it.
Morning. So now if we could turn our hymns to 418, 418, huh? And if you guys would please stand and join us. Oh, I want to see you. So journey through the land, singing as I go, pointing souls to constantly to the crimson flow. Many arrows pierce my soul from within heart. Now my Lord leads me on, through him I must win. Oh, I want to see him, look upon his face, there to sing forever of his saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice, from the last ever to rejoice. When in service for my Lord, dark may be the night, but I'll cling more close to him, he will give me light. Satan's snares may vex my soul, torn around, but my Lord goes ahead, leads me with good time. Oh, I want to see him, look upon his face, there to sing forever of his saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares on path, home at last, ever to rejoice. When in valleys low I look toward the mountain high, and behold my Savior's there leading in the fight, with a tender hand outstretched toward the valley low. Guiding me I can see as I onward go. Oh, I want to see him.